YouTube. How's it going? Dylan here. And yeah, I'll let this sink in for a second. Just it's blonde. Don't worry about it. Well, or worry about it. Whatever. But that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about Civil War #2. Dose. Civil War dose. The Civil War is happening again. I guess. Very interesting thing. I didn't think you would like sequelize Civil War. Like the Marvel Civil War has now been adapted to a movie, not verbatim, and also sequelized. It's really bizarre. This is a really bizarre book in the sense that like I don't know if there's inconsistencies, but it feels like there are. So because of other books that are going on. But we'll get there. So it starts with this guy running. Turns out the guy is an Inhuman who can see the future. And the Inhumans show up and they take him in. Hooray. Next thing, after that, we cut to the Avengers. The current Avengers team. So Tony Stark, Iron Man, Miles Morales, Spider-Man, Sam Wilson, Captain America, Sam Alexander Nova, and Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel. We see them, and then we get a giant page of like destruction, and a Celestial. I think that it's a Celestial. They say it's a Celestial, and he's got some minions, and trying to wreak havoc on Earth. But then they're like, Tony's like, alright, everyone stick to the plan. We got this. We can do this. All of a sudden, you hear this boom and a thunderclap, and it's like, oh, hey, look, Thor's here. And then, guess what? A shit ton of other heroes, too. It's like, fucking everybody. And then, the inconsistency that I think there is. It's really cool because there's a bunch of really, awesome, like, heroes that you see and whatnot, and it's really cool, but this is where the inconsistency starts. They're fighting the minions of the Celestial, and they go, hey, magic people, you guys good? And you get Scarlet Witch, Hellstorm, Dr. Voodoo, Wiccan, Shaman, and Magic, and Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme, all in one, circle, and they do a spell. The problem is, right now in Doctor Strange, there's no magic. So I am really confused. So does that mean Civil War is happening in the future? Civil War 2, I should say, is happening in the future? Does this spoil Doctor Strange? Obviously, reading the book, reading Doctor Strange, eventually they'll somehow get magic back. Because there's no magic in the Marvel Universe right now, in Doctor Strange. Obviously, that story ends with them getting it back. But, I didn't want to be told that. I could guess that. I can see that, oh, hey, yeah, they'll get magic back somehow. I'm not sure how, and I still don't know how, but, yeah, no, I know they get it back now. Spoilers. Jesus. So then, whatever the magicians do, they take care of it. They completely take care of the problem. The Celestial disappears, and they're like, we did such a good job, let's have a party. So they have a party, and everyone's having a great time, everyone's mingling. Tony Stark's like, thank you to the Inhumans for, letting us know that this was going to happen so we could stop it. This is the first time ever we've come up with a plan to fight a villain. First time worked, no problems. Because they had so much prep time. So they go and ask Captain Marvel and Iron Man go and ask Medusa, hey, how did you guys exactly know this was going to happen? And that's when you're introduced to Ulysses, who, turns out, yeah, he's an Inhuman. They're like, hey, why don't we get Jean Grey over here, the young Jean Grey, because X-Men story is weird. And she can, let's see what she can see. She can't read his mind. His mind is locked up, tight and stuff. And it's like, well, that's kind of weird. And the other weird thing I find about this book is like Peter Parker Spider-Man is just kind of in the background constantly, and it's just like it's bizarre because he just kind of makes like little quips, or he's just standing there. So then they're like, "All right, well that's weird. Why don't you just go ahead and give us?" And that's when like things kind of get weird because it's like, well, he can see the future, and he told us that this happened, or Tony says he can see possible futures. So then it gets into, well, then he goes, all right, just go ahead, tell us your story. So he tells the story, and then Tony goes, all right, so say, and I want to read you this because this is actually a really funny moment. Tony says, okay, let's say the guy here comes running up and says to us, and when he says the guy, he means Ulysses, the guy who can see the future. Guy comes running up to us and says, "Oh my God, I just saw a vision of the Hulk making out with Ultron, and a baby popped out, and the baby was a reincarnated Hitler." This is what Tony Stark says, and then Spider-Man goes, "I'd pay to see that movie." It's really bizarre because it's like Spider-Man's got his mask like up to here so he can eat, and his spider on his chest is constantly glowing. It's really funny. So then Tony goes, then it becomes the Minority Report thing, like, do we try to stop a problem before it actually happens? Because if we let it happen, then that's just letting time in the future unfold. And then, but then there's the other thing, it's like, hey, no, we have a responsibility to stop, problems before they happen. And then Tony kind of goes, you know what? I don't feel like doing this. Oh, I actually kind of skipped an important part and where the other, like, kind of weird inconsistency thing is. Before Tony goes, hey, kid, tell us your story, he goes, this is a moral problem. And Captain America goes, Steve Rogers, Captain America, goes, why? And Tony Stark goes, I don't want to have a moral debate with you because we know where that goes. But then my question becomes, for those of you who have been able to avoid the internet and only watch my videos, like no one does that, Captain America, Steve Rogers Captain America #1 last week when it came out had a big giant reveal. So spoilers for that. And it was that Captain America has been a Hydra agent for years. And everyone lost their shit. Now, I'm really interested, and I kind of want to pick up that book and, see where this goes. Why is Captain America... how does Captain America become a Hydra agent? Why is that a thing? How does it happen? That's really cool. I want to read that book. And the internet lost their shit. But then it comes to this. Is he a revealed Hydra agent at the point of the story? Clearly not, because he's with everybody. Or maybe he isn't yet, and then at another point in the story he will be. I don't know, because at the end of the book, at the end of Steve Rogers' Captain America, when he reveals he's a Hydra agent, he also appears to murder someone on his team by throwing them out of a plane. So, at some point, either throughout the story, Captain America is not a revealed Hydra agent, which is bizarre since his story will be happening like congruent to this one, or he does get revealed at some point and then he just kind of disappears from the scene of Civil War II. And people have to deal with him separately? Like, it's really bizarre. So then, and it's kind of really funny because, like, the guy Ulysses is like, when he gets brought into the room, is like, holy crap, I'm a big fan of all of yours, this is a lot. And then like, Tony Stark gets mad and goes, we're done here. And then Ulysses goes, wow, Tony Stark. And Spider-Man goes, yeah, it's exciting. And then you get over it. just constantly. So then it goes 3 weeks later. Ulysses has a freak out. Medusa, like, you just see them run to his room and cradle him. And she's like, he goes, we need to call the Ultimates. Then... that's when issue 0 of Civil War that came out during Free Comic Book Day ties into this. what happened in that story was Ulysses told the Ultimates that Thanos was coming to get the Cosmic Cube that he thought was on Earth. But the Cosmic Cube is no longer on Earth due to an event called Standoff that happened. It was a living Cosmic Cube, and it's what turned Captain America young again, because he became old because he lost the Super Soldier Serum, but that gave Captain America his youth again, and like his Super Soldier Serum. So that cube is no longer, it is not on Earth. Thanos thinks it is, so he shows up to Earth, they fight it, and then things happen. So then, in issue 0, you see the fight between the Ultimates and Thanos, and it's the Inhumans, the Ultimates versus Thanos. That's what you see. Now we cut to shortly after that. Tony Stark seems to be just kind of walking around his lab, like going like this, and he's talking to Friday, and they're joking, and they're like, he's like, "Where is my stealth armor?" And Friday's like, "I'm not telling you because you told me not to." And Tony's like, "I've been at this for 2 hours." And then like his assistant, I guess, someone walks in and goes, "Hey, what's up?" And she says, "It's Rhodey. He's gone." So Rhodey dies in the fight with Thanos. Tony Stark shows up to SHIELD headquarters, or it's the Triskelion, the headquarters of the Ultimates. Tony shows up pissed. Absolutely pissed. And is like, where the fuck is he? They take him to his body. And it was kind of like, it was a weird kind of moment, because earlier you see Rhodes and Tony talking, and Rhodes was like, "Hey, you gonna give me a new suit of armor? Because, this thing's is all janky and stuff." And Tony Stark goes, "Yeah, it'll be $4 billion. You want to pay that now, or do you want to..." And Rhodes goes, $4 billion? What happened to the friends and family discount? And he goes, "That is the discount." So it costs. So Tony Stark says there, it's a lot of fucking money to make a suit of armor. But Tony's like, this shouldn't have been possible. It had, like, the suit should be able to compensate. It had to have been such a great force. What happened? And he is livid and is just like, what the fuck happened? Where is Carol Danvers? Where's Captain Marvel? And then he walks through this curtain, and Captain Marvel is sitting there next to She-Hulk, who is barely alive. And she is, like, they're like, we don't know if she'll ever wake up again. We don't know if she'll ever walk again. We don't know, because we don't know anything about gamma creatures. We need Bruce Banner, but no one knows where Bruce Banner is, essentially. To my understanding, Bruce Banner's lost in the wind. As per usual, but, So, he goes, "Holy crap, She-Hulk, is she going to be okay?" And they're like, "We don't know." And then he goes, "What happened?" And they're like, "Thanos." And then they run him down of issue 0. And what happened is, they ambushed Thanos. Thanos is like, "You guys shouldn't have been here. What the hell? How did you guys know I was going to be here?" And it's this crazy thing, and it becomes a huge fight. So, he goes, "How did you know where he was going to be?" And Carol goes, "We used the Inhuman." And he goes, "I fucking told you this would happen. You killed Rhodey." Also, Carol and Rhodey were a couple. The only reason Rhodey died is because they were a couple, and Rhodey was at the Triskelion to see Captain Marvel when the Inhuman showed up to tell him about Thanos. So Tony goes, "You are responsible for Rhodey dying. It is like you killed him with your own bare hands." And she goes, "That's not fair. I loved him." And he goes, "I told you this would happen if you used the power of that kid. God damn it, this is your fault." He goes, "What happened to Thanos?" And they're like, "He's downstairs in the basement." I mean, at least there was that. Like, if Thanos had gotten away, Rhodey and She-Hulk got messed up. Like, Rhodey dies. Oh yeah, and then Tony Stark runs off, and they're like, "Where are you going?" And he goes, "I'm gonna make sure this never happens again." Captain Marvel goes to go after him. She-Hulk grabs her hand and goes, "Fight for this. It's our future. Fight for this." And then She-Hulk dies. Which then brings me to the fact that Captain Marvel, She-Hulk, and like all this is happening. I feel like it negates the A-Force book, which I'm reading too, and it's a really cool book. Like they're like Medusa, Captain Marvel, She-Hulk, Dazzler, like they're all part of the book, and it's like, what does this mean for that book now that She-Hulk is dead? Like, it's crazy. So essentially what Tony does, what it implies Tony does is he is heading to New Attilan, and he's going to take Ulysses and kill Ulysses so no one can use his power anymore. And that is the crux of Civil War. Essentially, they have this Inhuman with the power to see the future. Tony says it is too dangerous to use his power to do anything. They use his power to try to stop Thanos. War Machine and She-Hulk die as a result. Tony is pissed about it, so now it is Tony Stark versus Captain Marvel. Is how this book is, labeled. But this is a lie. This is a lie because She-Hulk's on the front cover, and she's dead now. And she is all the dead. So yeah. So this kind of ruins a lot of other books. Not necessarily ruin some other books, but it brings questions to the timeline of this. And, like, where does this happen? How does it happen in the sense of the rest of the Marvel Universe? Because there's the Doctor Strange thing of no magic. There's the question about the A-Force. It brings up a lot of questions. Oh yeah, the Captain America question. Like, Captain America's not on the cover, so do they find out that he's a hired agent? But then again, She-Hulk's on the cover and she's dead, so yeah. Civil War number 1. Civil War 2 number 1. I said that weird. Yeah, so this is a good setup. I kind of almost wish that the issue 0 would have been a better setup for this, so this would have been more into the action. But this was interesting, and they fucking killed 2 superheroes flat off the bat. Just dead. War Machine, Thanos just punches him right through it, like punches him and like shoots a blast directly through him. War Machine dead, and savagely beats She-Hulk to the point where she dies. And if she's not dead, I'll be mad because they made it seem like they killed her. So if the front cover is true and she is like actually fighting and they didn't kill her, that'll be really upsetting. But yeah, I say pick this up. Read this. It's a lot of fun. And it is a different moral debate than the first Civil War. And I like the idea that both Civil Wars have been predicated on a moral debate, and I feel like Tony might be right this time. I feel like Tony is more in the right than Captain Marvel is, but I hope that unlike the first Civil War where they villainized Tony, they don't do that this time. Instead of making Tony Stark a villain or making one side a villain and the other side, clearly right, both sides could be right. I want there to be like this gray area where things could end up. Because another Civil War, you're going to make heroes choose sides again? Like, holy shit. I wonder how much meta conversation there's going to be of like, didn't we do this last time and didn't, like, someone die at the end of this because of this? Like, I can't wait to see where that goes, because that'll be fun and funny and stuff. But yeah, I've talked way too long about this. More than I did about like DC Rebirth and stuff. But just this book prompted a lot of questions for me. So, if anybody, has a little bit more insight than I do, or, possible, like, a little bit of the direction, somebody, let me know in the comments of, like, what you think, or maybe and I'm just lost because I'm not reading every Marvel book. So, let me know in the comments. If you want to if you want to get this book, Comixology, Marvel's app, going to a local comic book store, any of those three things work. I'm sure there's other ways, but those are the three I do it. So yeah, so please comment, like, subscribe, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out.